all, thank you all so much for coming out. My name is Alicia Sanchez Adame, and as Rochelle mentioned, I am the CEO and founder of Think Group. So what we do, and what I get to do, is basically pay people to come in and say what they like or dislike about products. So have any of y'all ever participated in a focus group study before? If you have, raise your hand. Just curious. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's what Think Group does. As Rochelle mentioned, we work with Fortune 500 companies as well as small businesses. So some of our companies could be Chuck E. Cheese, some of them could be Indeed, some of them might be a financial banking institute, some of them might be alcohol beverages coming out with a new product, and they just want to learn and get information on how they could improve their current product or even their new one that they're coming out into market. But the way I got there is what I want to share with you, because I feel all of us have a story and it's never an easy one. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're successful, it must have been easy. And I'm like, no, you have no idea. Sit down if you have a couple of hours and I'm going to share it with you. So I founded and started Think Group at the age of 26. But before I got there, I had went to UT under the provisional program. Unfortunately, I didn't have the grades, so then I went to attend ACC. At the time, my parents always thought, no, you need to go to a university, community college isn't the way. They were kind of ashamed that I didn't make the grades, and I was like, I'm still good, Mom and Dad, I'm still going to go to college, don't worry, I just need to get my grades correct and on track. So I went to ACC and I started working there in the advising office. And one of the counselors there at ACC, who was an actual counselor, was saying, hey, Celicia, there's an opportunity of a part-time job that came on the bulletin. I think you should apply. It's an executive assistant to a CEO. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it because the timing didn't meet my schedule. And I was like, they're not gonna want me, so why even bother? She was like, just go and try. So if it wasn't for her, I probably would not be sitting here where I'm at today. So I said, you know what, I'll go try. So I went to the interview. The CEO loved me, moved his whole schedule to accommodate my schedule to go into ACC. So I was like, oh my gosh, this just happened, great. So long story short, working as an executive assistant for him, I discovered this quantitative side of market research. Never knew what that was about because my degree that I was going for was in finance. So I learned the ins and outs and I was like, oh my gosh, instead of our company hiring another company to do certain services for us, let me start my own division within this current company and I'll do it for you. So that way you don't have to hire this other company and I can make some money for you, CEO. And he was like, sure. And he was like, but you're still gonna be my executive assistant. And I was like, yes, I could do it. So was doing it, it was great. At that time, I met my boyfriend, now husband, and my husband, or boyfriend at the time, owned 3 bars in downtown Austin. So he was always an entrepreneur. And it'll get tied together here in a minute. So as I was working for this company, my CEO decided for whatever reason that he no longer wanted to continue this division. He was like, I feel like we're losing focus. I want to focus on our main line of business. I want you to go ahead and shut that division down. So I was kind of stunned because I worked so hard to put it all together and run this division by myself. That's when my boyfriend was like, you know what? Start your own company then. And I was like, wait, you're telling me to do this at age 25? Are you kidding me? I have no family members that are entrepreneurs. No one in my life has ever started a business. I'm scared out of my mind. And he's like, I will help you get all the back end started. You have all the knowledge and the experience. Go with it. And I thought long and hard and I said, you know what? I can do this. So I remember having a conversation with my parents who thought I was out of my mind, and they were like, what are you doing? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna have insurance, you're not gonna have, how are you gonna pay for your car payment, et cetera, the list just went on. And then at the time I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna succeed because all these things are popping up that I have to think about. So decided, you know what, I'm doing it. So I started it, and at the age of 26, I started Think Group. The day before opening up my doors, my dad called me and he was like, "Mijita," and in Spanish that means my little girl. "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" I was like, "Dad, it's less than 24 hours that I'm making this announcement. You cannot tell me this right now." So, fast forward till today, my dad's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for never listening to me." Because I have seen so much growth, but I've seen you go through a lot of struggle to get where you're at, and it has made you the person that you are today. So in the first 3 years, it's extremely hard, very challenging. I didn't think I was going to be able to keep the doors open because it was just literally me running the ship. But my advice to entrepreneurs out there is to keep going, keep pushing, never get up or never give up. There's going to be people that are going to tell you you're not going to make it, and don't ever let that. Find the passion. As long as you have the drive and the fire, you will succeed. And so now, we're a successful company, being in business for 13 years. I have 10 full-time employees. I have a space about 7,500 square feet. We fly in clients from all over the world to conduct research. And the way we get customers and clients is basically referral of mouth, networking. And they know the quality of service that they're gonna get when they come to Think Group. So that's my journey till then, and there's a lot more in between. So if you have any questions afterwards, be happy to share.
So cool, right? Thank you, Celicia. Our next speaker on our founders panel is Kim Stanley. Kim Stanley is the founder and president of a business called Downsize My Home. It's a move management company that specializes in making life transitions just a little bit easier. As a real estate agent, Kim really watched her clients struggle with homes and belongings they had outgrown. They were overwhelmed by the decisions and really the volume of work that is involved in downsizing. Her own personal experience helping her mom downsize and in her own life as her children grew and left the nest led her to search for a better way to manage this challenge. In doing so, Kim discovered a passion for serving adults really in the midst of some pretty monumental life challenges. So she developed a step-by-step system that has become Downsize My Home. Kim has more than 20 years experience as a business owner and manager. Her background is rich in advertising, real estate, and relocation management. Plus, she's done a little bit of one-on-one coaching. So without further ado, please welcome Kim Stanley.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's working.
Okay. I'm going to start with a question. I know that this doesn't pertain to any of you personally in the room, but how many of you have a friend or a family member that just has way too much stuff? Okay, not trying to out anybody. They may want to declutter or move, but they're overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. Well, that's the scenario that began my journey into the world of downsizing and move management. In 2007, I was a rookie realtor in Columbia, Missouri. Go Mizzou Tigers. And I represented an upscale condo development that was very attractive to empty nesters, people who were downsizing. So I would sit there on the weekends in the model home. People would come in. When they toured the place, most of them fell in love with it. So I would say, great, let's talk about where you are and how we can help you move forward so you can enjoy this beautiful community. And they would look at me and their faces would fall and their eyes would glaze over and they'd go, oh, no. You don't know my house. I have this huge house full of stuff. I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start. I heard this over and over again. And as a new agent who really needed to make a sale, this was pretty frustrating. I thought, there's got to be something out there that can help these people, some hands-on, step-by-step process and guides or something. At the time, I couldn't find anything. I thought, man, somebody needs to step up and do something about this. So, in the midst of starting and trying to grow my real estate business, I discovered that my mom, who was in Northern Iowa, a very healthy, independent, headstrong woman who was never at a loss for words, all of a sudden could not finish her sentences. My husband and I went up and visited her, and I convinced her to come back down to Columbia where they have great medical facilities. We did some testing and discovered that she was riddled with brain cancer. So, rocked my world. But we moved her into our home and took care of her until she passed away. An only child, and so my husband and I had the responsibility of going up to northern Iowa, liquidating her estate. Long, exhausting, emotional process. And when I got done, I thought, nobody should ever have to go through this. There's got to be a better way. I still couldn't find it. So I went home, I wrote a workbook, I created a step-by-step process. I packaged it in a toolkit, in a downsizing toolkit. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, wow, this could be a nationwide network. This could be something that could help people all over the country. I thought, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to create a nationwide company. So I didn't. I was overwhelmed, and I just used it with my clients. I used it to grow my real estate business, and it really worked. It really helped people. In 2012, my husband and I moved to Austin to be closer to family, but really to be warmer in the winter. And we started a real estate business from scratch again, but my mission and my passion for helping people in these transitions never went away, and it just kept tapping me on the shoulder. So 4 years ago, I quit real estate, relaunched my Downsize My Home business, repackaged everything, and started helping people again as a full-time downsizing specialist and move manager. Today, I have a staff of 8 amazing women who help people redefine and actually recreate a smaller living space that is a reflection of their life and has all of the most meaningful things. And the magic is we do it in one day. We unpack and set them up. So if you can imagine leaving your home in the morning and coming to your new place in the evening, every single box is unpacked and put away where you want. Your bed's made, your clothes are in the closet, and all the boxes are gone. So you just start living your life. And imagine then if somebody takes care of all the aftermath, so everything else that you want to sell or donate is taking care of, your house is prepped for sale. That's everybody's dream move, right? Mm-hmm. But for a senior, making the biggest small move of their life, it is huge. It makes a difference in their social, emotional, and physical well-being. And that's what jazzes me. Mm-hmm. My business has grown. It has not still achieved the big vision that I had, but it has grown, and I've now been able to expand it. I am reaching people across the country through remote coaching, through online courses, and through coaching. 2 things I would advise you, I don't know what my time is, but 2 things that I would share with you today that I can think can help any woman or man be successful in business. Number 1 is build your business and your brand with your unique story, kind of like what you were saying. Understand what it is. You just heard my story, the thing that gave me angst and caused me to start my business. So what is yours? What is the thing that keeps you up, that drives you, that gives you that sense of urgency, that's saying somebody's got to do something? Build your business around that. Tell that story. Make it really personal and juicy. That will make you stand out. And number 2, fine-tune your niche. So for example, if you want to start a bakery, don't just start a bakery. Do a French dessert bakery, or bake hot cookies and deliver them to people. Although that one's been taken. But I hope that my journey has given you some information, and I'm happy to help anybody that wants to start and grow a business. It's quite an amazing journey. Thank you.
Awesome. Find a problem, solve it, walk through your fear, and know there will be pitfalls along the way. Hats off, ladies. Next up is Sarah Cook. Really interesting story here, folks. Sarah Cook is a native Texas sushi chef. Say that 5 times fast. Sushi chef. She is the owner of Kyoten Sushi Co., an intimate tasting menu dining experience in the Mueller development in North Austin. Sarah combines traditional Japanese cuisine and techniques with Central Texas produce. Her focus is on sustainability, reducing waste, and celebrating each and every day and each and every ingredient. Get this part. As one of the only female head sushi chefs and restaurant owners in the nation, Cook values using her platform as an opportunity to support and uplift other women in the restaurant industry, particularly in opening doors to provide women access to learning the art of sushi. I learned a lot through our phone conversation. It's really a cool story. Sarah is passionate about shifting the dynamics surrounding sushi to focus more on mental wellness and ethical, intentional handling of fish and plants. Sarah Cook, please share your story with us.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Cook. I am the executive chef and owner of Kyoten Sushi Co. in Mueller. It is a 6-seat, high-end tasting menu-only restaurant. The menu changes every single day, and the menu is not even printed. So you just walk in and sit down, and I hand you 20 courses of food. It's a blast. But I wanted to kind of talk about how I got into the industry and kind of my pitfalls starting out as a young woman in a very male-dominated field, of that being restaurants, before even getting into the most male-dominated subset of that industry. I went to school at Southwestern University here in Georgetown and graduated with a degree in philosophy and linguistics with plans of going to law school afterwards and potentially into politics. I decided my senior year of college that I felt like I was kind of choosing the lesser of all evils with what I wanted to do afterwards, that what I really wanted to do was cook. So moved to Austin after graduation and started applying for every kitchen in the city. Nobody wanted to hire me. So I was 22 years old, 0 experience. And every interview I went into, they brought up, don't you want to be a hostess? You'd be such a good server. And when I said no, I want to be in the kitchen, what everybody in every single interview seemed to bring up was my hair length. It was like this long. They said, you're gonna have to tie your hair back. And I said, and they said, every day. It came up in so many interviews that after one interview I went home and I shaved my head. Didn't come up again. Finally got hired in a late night kitchen job and had a really defining, how am I going to respond to this moment with sexism very early in my career. The kitchen manager at this little restaurant I was working at openly said that the best case scenario for a woman in a professional kitchen is to be a distraction to the men. And my gut reaction was, run, get out of here. But instead I thought to myself, I'll prove it. I will outwork anybody else around me. And I'll just put my head down until I get there. And that moment for me influenced the rest of my career. All of the little moments that then came afterwards where I was challenged, I was reminded of that moment and that decision to just put my head down and outwork everybody else. So I became successful working as a chef in other restaurants, but sushi is its own beast. Women are very blatantly not allowed to learn sushi. I have been told in restaurants here in Austin that I was not allowed to learn sushi because women's hands are too warm to handle fish. And other really, really funny just biological misunderstandings. And so I actually got involved with sushi by meeting my mentor. He was running a sushi restaurant in the location of my restaurant and hadn't chosen a protege when he moved on to open a location in Chicago. And he and I got to know each other, and he kind of handpicked me for this, and took the time to really invest in me and invest in that development that I hadn't been permitted to have from there. But in this, I reopened the location in May of this past year, and over the last 8 months, ish, it's been very challenging. For the first few weeks, people were not expecting to come in and sit down and have a woman be serving them. The opening night, first piece I gave to a man who said, "Thanks, sweetie." And I was holding a 10-inch knife. A lot of questions of who actually cuts the fish, who actually sharpens that knife for you. Things like that became very frustrating and discouraging. But it helped me to kind of understand and remind myself, I'm getting this question, and I have to do the work of putting it down and explaining why it's a misinformed question. Maybe next time, when this person has an experience like this, and they have a female chef, they'll know not to ask this question. And so for me, opening this door is very challenging, and it doesn't feel fair, and it isn't what I want to have to be dealing with, but it's helping to pave the way for women that come behind me that are able to have access to this. And so I make sure that for staffing, I prioritize hiring women, giving them opportunity and access to learning, and also if I need new plateware, if I need new upholstery, contacting local female artists in the area and using that money to support them and uplift those businesses is very critical for me. So I would just say that for me, two pieces of advice that I have for any especially woman getting into an industry that's very male dominated, and advice that I kind of have that I always remind myself of. The first one is to look for those defining how will I respond to this moment and value them as being so influential for the rest of your path. And the other is to maintain that understanding that sometimes the doors that you open, you're not the most direct beneficiary of opening that door. Sometimes you're opening that door to leave it open and reach behind you and pull someone else through it. So yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you, Sarah. Finally, Deanna Dee Bryant is the founder and CEO of something called Ethel Ambrosia. She's got a little sample that I hope she shares with you. Ethel Ambrosia is a vegan, 15% alcohol dessert shot. Yes, I am talking about booze, and it's pretty cool, and it's perfect for celebrations. Dee Bryant is a St. Louis native, and she moved to Austin in 2016. She was attracted to our vibrant city because of the weather and all of the amazing outdoor adventures that it has to offer. After being the go-to girl for throwing parties, bridal celebrations, she found herself constantly searching for a product that would take these celebrations to the next level. So much like the other ladies on the panel, she decided to create it. Classy and convenient, Dee created Ethel Ambrosia and the brand after nearly a decade of experience running brands at Fortune 500 companies. While at Conagra Foods and Frito-Lay, Dee launched more than 13 new products, generating more than $500 million in sales. This experience left her with a love of providing products that both generate consumer love and passion, while also driving the overall market demand. Dee holds a BS in mathematics and philosophy from the University of Notre Dame, as well as an MBA in marketing and strategy from the University of Washington in St. Louis. She's an adventure-seeking, high-energy, self-described math nerd who loves whiskey, traveling, and finding new events and activities to try.
Thank you guys. Man, the energy out here is great, so I just love it, and you guys, I don't know how I'm going to follow you up because you're amazing. So yes, as Rochelle mentioned, this is Ethel Ambrosia, so this is our first product we just launched. We actually officially launched in September and went national in December. And so things have been really, really skyrocketing and growing quickly. But with all of that being said, the journey to get here has been less than linear. Just take it back to math, but kind of all over the place. So I refer to myself now as a recovering perfectionist. So it took me a long time to get here. Growing up, I didn't grow up in the best of kind of situations. I had a loving family, but we were pretty, we struggled quite a bit. I was on free lunches, and so knew early on that it was up to me to really get out of that situation and create something for myself. And so to do that, it was really following the rules. And so what did someone say to do? That's what I did, and I just met their expectations and never really had thought, what are my expectations? Like, what do I really want? And so throughout life, I went to school, I went to Notre Dame because I wanted to, and I became a math major because that's kind of what you were supposed to do. And then after that, my dad would come down and be like, here's a job to be an actuary, here's a job to be all these like very low risk things. And it was something that really stuck with me, and so that's why I went to get my MBA. It was just what you were supposed to do. Got into Fortune 500, and every day I would go into work, and while I was doing really well, it was just doing what you're supposed to do. And so there was a lack of passion, a lack of energy, and during that time, I was always the one, because quite frankly, I was working so hard that I never had any, I was single, I was the one that could throw the parties because I didn't have a family back home, so all my friends were getting married. I was the one in charge of throwing the parties in New Orleans, throwing the party in San Francisco, wherever it might be. I was throwing those parties, but I was working 80 hours a week, so I didn't have time to like put in, how do I make that special? I also should never be in a kitchen. It will look like a tornado hit it if you ever put me in a kitchen. So, I will stay far away from that. I will make a cocktail every day, not in the kitchen. And so I wanted something special and unique, and that brought that energy and connection together. And so looked all around the internet, couldn't find it, and decided I'm going to invent this thing. And so Ethel Ambrosia really is about creating connection and moments with those you love, whether it be your friends, your family, birthday parties, bridal. And when I started this, I didn't have funding to do it. And there was a lot of innovation that went into this. So the base we have is 3 forms of seaweed, so a lot of science went into that. And then when you want to use the cup, it's actually, you can twist and push. And so there's 2 patents pending right now in this cup. So to design the cup and to find a formulation that would actually exit the cup without leaving any goo or gel, quite a bit of food science and engineering went into that. And so that's not cheap. And so with this idea, before I had a product, I went out to the market and I said, we have this great thing, there's a demand for it, here's all the consumer research coming from Frito-Lay, PepsiCo, and Conagra. I had a lot of background in creating the data, like digging in and understanding the opportunity, but everyone that I went to and met with happened to be male-owned VCs, male-owned angel investors, and I'm talking to them about this like vegan Jell-O shot thing. I'm like, what? No, like, go to the college kids, it's a great market for college kids. No, it's not for college kids, it's for everyday adults that just want to celebrate, want to connect, and they don't have the time because no one has time anymore. Like, should be able to show up at your house, Amazon can get things there, why can't we? And so, no one gave me money, and I was like, what do I do now? And so I almost quit, I almost stopped and just said, no, it is a good idea, a good try. But luckily, about 4 years prior, I had bought a townhome and I was in my kind of stable life, and I was like, well, I have some equity in this, sold my house, used that money to really launch this product, get this off the ground. Got to a point where we were almost ready to launch, but I was out of money, totally out of money, and I had that crazy fortune, which some would say not fortune. I was parked on the side of the road, working out of the gym one day, come out, my car was smashed. And it's like, oh my God, this is the last thing I need right now. But luckily it still drove, and I had paid it off, so the insurance from that gave me a nice check because they technically totaled it. I took that cash, put it in the bank, got me 3 more months of my business. I still have a super crunched up car outside, and I keep reminding me, like, you gotta keep going. And so it's just little things like that got me to that point. We were able to launch, things have been growing really quickly. So we're an e-commerce based company, which is very different in the alcohol space, and a lot of that came into using the science and the innovations that were technically a wine product. While you don't taste the wine in this, we ferment from oranges and then we clean it up. And so in the eyes of the federal law, we are a wine because it came from fruit, not a grain. And so I'm able to ship across the country. And we've been growing, and all those VCs that initially were like, what is this? Have now been contacting me. And so I've been actually reached out to by the VC companies, and we're under an LOI, so going through a pretty hefty investment round right now, which fingers crossed will close in a month. But essentially, I guess, at the end of the day, it's really about, as she said, following your passion, and I think not waiting for permission. So if I could give anybody advice, it's like, don't wait for permission. I did that for so long, kind of growing up in that perfectionist world of like just trying to do what everyone thinks you're supposed to do. Just like, don't wait, just do it, and then you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail so many times, but it's okay because you're doing what you love, and you'll figure out a way around it.
Amazing, right? Yeah, really cool. Now it's time for the Q&A portion of this. And I would like to just kind of start things off because the one theme I was hearing, in addition to problem solving and perseverance, is kind of keeping it real. There were tons of challenges that each woman faced, but they persevered, they kept knocking on doors, and they never quit. So I think that's just really cool. Maybe another question would be adding the layer of being a female to their overall business development and strategy. So I guess the first question, and I would like each one of you to individually address this, is I know you all launched at different times, but at the time of launch, just talk a little bit about the business environment. Did you have peers supporting you? Celicia, I know your dad was still calling you and saying, you sure? But share that experience with the audience.
Yeah, so I didn't have anybody other than my boyfriend, now husband at the time, supporting me. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking going into market. There were competitors here in Austin as well that I was going up against that had 20 years on me, you know, owning their own company, doing what they're doing. And I was scared out of my mind because whenever anyone's doing like research, you know, they have a lot of money invested in it, especially Fortune 500 companies. So to give the newbie, aka me, a chance was really hard. So I had to do a lot of convincing and talking to them and resting their mind, saying, I got this, just give me a chance. And I think that's what we all share is like, give me a chance and I will prove you wrong. So with that being said, you know, taking that chance and doing it and fulfilling it was very successful. But no, unfortunately, I didn't have anybody rooting for me other than my boyfriend at the time. But I thank him and I look back and I'm like, thank you for believing in me. So even when someone doesn't believe in you, believe in yourself. And as long as you believe in yourself, you're gonna climb mountains and then some.
I think I was so fortunate in that my husband and partner in life has always been there to support and help me, and so I kind of feel like in some ways I have an advantage. I've had it easier. When you're bootstrapping, you have to be very creative, and if you've never read The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur by Michael Holowitz, definitely put that on your list because he shows you just how to bootstrap, and we're still bootstrapping, but I think back then, when I first started this as a real estate agent, I was trailblazing, and I feel like I still am in some ways, because when I tell people what I do, after even the industry is at least 20 years old, people go, that's a thing? Really? I didn't know that existed. That's so cool. So having something, and I'm a little bit different than most move managers, and I have products in addition to a service. People want to pigeonhole you and define you when you're creating your own category, which, you know, most people up here we are. You have to stay true to that and say, no, I'm not in this category or this category. I'm creating a whole new category, and it's easy to want to leave that because it's more difficult to blaze that new trail. But you just, like you said, you have to keep believing in yourself and keep going. It's okay to blaze a new trail.
Sarah?
Didn't have a lot of support around me in getting launched. I did have my mentor, who is a fantastic resource and kind of got me onto this track, but even he, right before opening day, he was like, man, if you fail, it's gonna be so embarrassing for you. Yeah, I guess so.
bump me up there, bud.
Believe in you. And so that, was very difficult, a lot of pressure and a lot of just in what I do, there's so much vulnerability inherently in just kind of sharing my style, my heart with people, and understanding that there's a chance of someone going, I hate this, it's gross. That was very intimidating and opening, and also kind of the community support of sushi in Austin was non-existent for me. It's a couple pretty big titans of industry. They thought that I was a total joke. They were pretty open to me about it. After about a month of service, they did not think that anymore. There's one sushi chef that when I'd see him, he would say, even after we open, he'd go, let me know if you need help learning how to butcher. The last time he said that to me, I said, you too. And so, not having that support though really helped me for getting started, because it taught me to not be relying upon other people's perspective of what was good, to not get my self-worth and my sense of value for what I was doing based off of other people affirming it. Instead, saying, I know this is good, I know that this will be successful, and no matter what someone's saying when we're opening, come in and see.
So this is my first foray into alcohol. I've done a lot of food, and so when I was going into alcohol, the industry is pretty much good old boy network, especially in the traditional alcohol route of getting into bars and getting into restaurants. Legally, there's a lot of litigation there. You have to go through 3-tier, and you have to go through the 2nd tier, which is the distributor, which is pretty much a pay-for-play model owned by a lot of your big traditional alcohol companies, and they try to keep the small guys out. And so that's where kind of not knowing what you're doing is helpful, in that you can do it a different way. And that's really where I'm like, well, why can't e-commerce work? There's got to be a loophole. And so it really got us to that point of kind of formulating and doing it in different ways that you could go around. And so I think lean into what you don't know and just like figure it out on your own, because there's sometimes a chance that you're going to find a much. There's X, Y, and Z that you can do it, but W is just as good. So why don't we just do W? But I was blessed, opposite of you, that the network here in terms of just entrepreneurs and support and growing businesses has been super collaborative and helpful. And even in the alcohol space, other early stage founders have been very supportive. And so there's a lot of resources here depending on the industry you're going into. And there's CPG networks, there's alcohol like meetups, there's e-commerce meetups. And so really everyone's collaborative. It's very different than other cities in that the Austin market is just, there's a ton happening, and you heard it earlier, it's very explosive, but what's really cool is that it's not competitive. So you'll go to other places like San Francisco or LA, and people are just gonna claw your eyes out, and they're not gonna tell you anything, and they're gonna tell you other things. But here, like, they're gonna do anything they can to step ahead of you. Where Austin, like, you're not gonna see that. The Clayton Christopher, who started to Betty and Sweetly Tea, he'll have one-on-ones with you. We can meet on their calendars. So like, what's really cool about Austin is no matter who you are and what your idea is, there's someone here that really wants to prop you up and help you. So,
Awesome, well done.
If you can remember it, can you take us back to the moment or the conversation you had when you finally yourself went, I think this might work. I actually think this might work. Can you remember that conversation, that moment when you were just struggling and you're like, this might be a thing. I might be able to do it.
Does anyone want to take
Was
a
there a
stab
moment?
first?
Or when searching brain? Yeah.
well, I can say the time where, so it was prior to launch actually, but I had the idea for about 5 years. At the time I was doing some consulting work, helping other companies kind of launch their business units. And I was sitting in a meeting, it was 5 male founders, they had a multi-million-dollar company at this point. I'm sitting around them and like, they had no idea what they were doing. Literally no idea. I'm like, if you guys can do this, so can I.
necessarily a question, but I watched a TED Talk video, and the four of you right now sort of are the exact example of this TED Talk. And if you Google TED Talk grit, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect example. And I see that with my business partner. We're 6 years in now. And if you don't have the grit to move forward, and no matter what comes at you, to continue to push forward, that's where the failure happens, is the inability to really, in your gut, to just move forward and continue to persevere. And I see that in all four of you, that these are not overnight things. They're not things that happen, you know, you decide to start a business and then a week from now, everything's successful. Months for you with your sushi place, but some years with Celicia. And Celicia and I have had many meetings together where that grit, it was like, we didn't say it, but the conversation was revolving around, what are we gonna do, right? What am I gonna do with my business? She's like, what am I gonna do with my business? We're just gonna persevere and move forward. So I would highly recommend everybody checking that video out, TED Talk on grit.
I have a question regarding balance as an entrepreneur and how to avoid burnout, especially as female, and our expectations are beyond just showing up for our businesses, but also showing up for our family. So if you could talk about what do you do to help kind of keep that at bay, if you can.
So I have a 2-year-old. He just turned 2 on Saturday, and it was definitely challenging on juggling. My heart lies in giving back to my community. As you can hear in my bio, I'm involved in a lot of things. But the thing for me is making sure that I know when I need to stop and I need to concentrate on my family, and making sure I need to put my phone away so I can play with my little son, or if I can make him dinner, but also to my spouse, you know, making sure I have that attention for him as well. So there's not, and we were all chatting about this, there's not a real right or wrong answer. It's you have to find what's comfortable for you, but always keep that in your mind, knowing that you need to constantly make time for others. Because giving back is so imperative. I know you had asked that question earlier, and we're all blessed to be where we're at right now, but never forget where you came from, and always remember you owe it to other people to help bring them up. And that's why, one, I was so excited to be asked to be on this panel, because at the end of the day, for women especially, I've seen it where other women are like, oh no, that's not a good idea, or we try to hold each other back. And I want to see more of us saying, you know what, I got your back, I can help you succeed. You need a connection, let's all work together and help this individual succeed. And for men as well, but women, we just need that extra, like, you got this, girl. And that's what I want and hope that you guys can take away from this.
And just to add to that, that was one of the questions I asked, and I asked it with trepidation, because I know there's many female women founders and business owners that choose not to have children. Great. There's some that have a family. Great. We believe we should support whatever that choice is. But my question was, I don't think you can deny, I do have 3 kids and I had them in 16 months. They're 15, 15, and 16. That impacts what I do right now in this season of my life. And I almost was apologetic in asking the question because it's not often asked. How does family and your responsibility to your children play a role in you being kick-butt business owners? So we kind of went down the line and thought, yeah. And then I can't remember which gal it was that said, how many men are asked, well, where is your child now if you're at a board meeting, or something along those lines. So it is a unique, I think, female experience. Can any of you expound on that or share your vision?
That's a great question. And when I had my advertising agency years ago, I did not do a very good job. my 2-year-old went to my office with me and he watched cartoons while I worked sometimes. Now what I do at this season in my life, I have this sort of list of things that are in the moment things that I enjoy. And I find when I get to this point, which I kind of did yesterday, where I'm not having fun right now, I'm drudging through this, I have to stop and do one little thing for a little bit that I enjoy. Maybe it's picking up a novel, wow, it's the last time we did that, and reading for 15 minutes, or those adult coloring books. Whatever, doesn't have to be anything expensive, but I find that gets me back into a little bit more joy, so I can actually be more productive and actually think, yeah, I still have a passion for this. You can get to the point where you lose your passion. There's no perfect answer. Just know that you're going to have times when you're not in balance. You have to communicate that to your family, maybe plan something fun at the end of that.
Dangle a carrot for all the hard work, right? Any other questions? I thought I saw him.
I'd like to know if, in your entrepreneurial journey, if you have any women authors of motivational books or business books or online social media influencers that you got some motivation from that you would recommend.
The best Instagram follow is Sarah Blakely. If you're not following her right now, like
Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx.
yeah, she's a founder of Spanx. Yeah, self-made billionaire, youngest self-made billionaire. Check out Kylie Jenner.
Product as well, I think.
Yeah, it's another product. But and to your point of I don't have them, but she does a great job. Like she has 4 kids, showcasing kind of what that looks like. So really great follow.
More questions? Anyone from the audience? Yeah, over here.
First, thank you for being here and sharing your stories. Very inspirational. I'm curious about funding. So you're all kind of in a different spot, and I don't know if all of you have gone to a bank to request more money. You're obviously in a round, and that's a totally different animal. But have any of you ever sought funding outside of a traditional bank, like mezzanine banks or anything like that, and then how you discovered it and how that went for you?
Funding issues, anyone?
Outside of I do have another angel investor in the company right now, so I did that. Funding, especially coming from a female point of view, it was really interesting early on having those conversations. So I was also told you're gonna have to show them that you're more than just a pretty face when you walk into the meeting by several mentors. So when you go to the banks, I think, and I don't know about some of the untraditional ones, but there's a company called NextSeed here, which is really interesting alternative funding. So I met with them quite a bit. It didn't work because of the alcohol component.
Wait, next?
NextSeed.
So NEXT.
Yeah, SEED. They're an interesting, and I had quite a few conversations with them. I didn't go that route just because of different things. But CTAN, Central Texas Angel Network, here in Austin is really fantastic, and they do a ton of funding across multiple verticals.
But do they do funding where they are literally just loaning and they don't want a piece of equity?
NextSeed does, CTAN does not.
Okay.
They have a debt instrument as well as an equity instrument.
Okay.
And Silicon Valley Bank is here. They have an headquarters here now, or an office here, and I know they do a lot of different debt instruments and give pretty big lines of credit.
Can any of you speak to how you can further a great idea with limited capital? So maybe just how to get your business up and going even before you're at that level where you're seeking funding alternatives.
One thing so all of our PR is grassroots. I don't have the money to hire any kind of media or marketing or anything like that. And so pretty much the entire restaurant started as an Instagram campaign. Of just very, very active, diligent social media work. And we've been able to grow our Instagram since May 1st of last year, grown it to over 1,200 followers with a lot of really active engagement. And so I think that for me, it was kind of looking at, how can we get and just access normal everyday people in the area with something that is engaging and something that makes them want to come back and visit this page, to kind of circumvent needing to spend that money on professionals.
Yeah, marketing at that point, grassroots, bootstrap marketing, what can you do for this much money?
I want to hear, as female founders, what's next for you? What do you envision as a female founder?
Well, I want to grow in terms of maybe opening up another location, but I also have another venture that I'm about to launch that has nothing to do with what I'm doing. So I'm super excited, and I hope to share that news more to come with the community and everybody else. But my brain is always thinking of the next thing, or always wanting to be on the go. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's what makes me tick, right? Is just business. I love like conquering something and knowing I can look back and saying, wow, I did that when maybe I didn't even think I could do it. So.
I have two things. One is to expand my pillars of income, looking more into corporate relocation, because the process that we do can help very busy executives that are coming into Austin be able to focus on their new job and not have to worry about all the boxes that need to be unpacked. That's one. The other one is I have fallen in love with the First Community Village in South Austin. I was there for several hours yesterday, and I'm hoping to be able to donate some of my time and a portion of every job that comes in to supporting the growth of that. You know, they're starting the second phase. Anybody who don't know it, does anybody here not know what First Community is? Okay, it is amazing. You do need to look it up. It is a village in southeast Austin that is a place where people who are chronically homeless go and they have a permanent home, tiny homes, trailers, but it's unique, unlike anything else. There was a symposium there yesterday. People from all over the world come to find out how they did this. Alan Graham founded it. His journey is amazing. He has a book out there. And when you go visit, there's a big event coming up April 25th. It'll be out there on social media. It's for the community, free, go. I want to give back to that organization that's very committed to affordable housing for anyone, but especially for the aging population. So.
Almost out of time, but I want to check the audience for any last questions here. Everybody good? Okay. Whoa, there. What's that? Go for it.
I want to hang out with you. I need to hire you, and I'm serious. I am also serious. I want to have dinner with you, and I really want to drink with you.
We have a couple more hands. Sir.
So all of you started as just yourself, and now you've grown and expanded. You've added people to your team. And I'm just curious, what were some of the unexpected surprises when it came to scaling and adding people to your team that you didn't foresee?
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the biggest challenges that I've had is staffing, which, you know, everybody has that challenge. But there's been kind of this strange dynamic of expectation when I hire people that they either aren't totally responsive to my authority, that I'll tell them what to do, and then they'll maybe make a decision for themselves of if that's what they actually need to do. And also that they expect a certain amount of emotional labor for me, of wanting to have sit-down meetings and talking about how they feel about being in trouble. And just that kind of expectation where, you know, I was telling you that I've had 4 separate conversations since May where I've had to sit an employee down and say, your feelings are so valid, and I appreciate you sharing them with me, but this is a business. It's not more important than the business. And so I think that for me, as a woman, it's just been especially challenging of kind of navigating, wanting to prioritize conversations about mental health in restaurants without having staff kind of take advantage of that. and interpret that as, okay, then my feelings are more important than the business. So that's kind of, that expectation of emotional labor has been the most unexpected frustration with that.
So if you already have your passion, but you don't have any education in starting a business, what would be your first suggestion for starting to learn that?
That's a great question, or maybe wrap things up, because we do have a hard stop. So if we could just go one by one to answer that one.
For me, I just took it upon myself and did research, right? I looked at other people that were considered my competitors out there in the market, and really made a unique point to be different, to be unique. And then you could just go and run with it. You don't need to take and this is just me speaking, right? You don't need to go take a small business class to figure it out. If you have that passion, just go. You could get Wix to start your website. You could open, do the Instagram, the Snapchat, but more importantly, share your story. I think that's what she was saying earlier. If you have that story, it's gonna come out in your passion, and that's what's gonna make you successful because of your uniqueness to coming out to the market.
Great question. There's so much information out there that wasn't out there when I first started. My very first business a long time ago was a singing telegram company. I didn't know anything about that, but I knew how to sing. I went to the library and I got every book I could on how to start a business, how to go, what did you need to do, what about business licenses, blah, 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 this kind of stuff. It's all out there on the web. It's so easy to find. Now, I'm not trying to discount your feeling of overwhelm, because I get it. And this group right here, all of us are here to support you.
I'd say what y'all said, researching and investing and educating yourself, finding those resources, and also looking to mentorship, looking to people that maybe have a somewhat similar background in how they got into this position, and spending time with them. I've been really fortunate to have had some excellent chefs that I've worked under who have had a lot of belief in me, and being able to still kind of contact them and touch base with things is a more valuable resource than I ever could have found in a secondary way.
Google. It sounds so silly, but, and like I had a lot of education and knowledge in the exact space, but there's so much you don't know. Like I went to concrete university because I needed to pour some concrete and it was too expensive to hire someone, so I poured our own concrete. Like you can learn anything on Google and YouTube, anything at this point, so Google.
Awesome. I will leave it with this. Sometimes lean into the fear, and sometimes lean into the punch. If you know that there's something potentially negative coming, hiding isn't going to stop it. If you just kind of dive in, lean into that, and be open to what is coming your way, amazing things could happen. Let's give it a huge round of applause. But at this point, Jeff, I'll turn it over to you, dear.
Thank you. First off, let's give a hand to this lady. Amazing group of people. Hopefully you learned a lot about that. This is the spirit of what 1 Million Cups is. This is what we do. My name is Jeff Kickle. I'm the CEO of T-Works Co-working and founder. So I feel like I'm in the club here with these ladies. Being a founder is a different animal because we don't really have a thing that we start with. We kind of start with this thing that's in our head and we kind of have to make it happen. So it's hard, it sucks. There are days that you wake up and you're just like, what the hell am I doing? Why don't I just go to work for somebody and let them pay me and they can deal with all this stuff. But grit, they dug it out and they've done well. Celicia, I've known you for several years and I didn't know all about your story, so thank you for sharing. She is like the most understated person. She'll never really seek her praises. Kim, we've been part of the journey together. I've seen pretty much the 4 years of us struggling it out. Sarah,
walk softly, carry a 10-inch knife. The way and yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, you got to have some relationship with the employees, but if the business isn't there, who cares? And Dee, don't ever forget that beat up car. That's, just keep it somewhere. Put it in the garage. Someday that will be something. We have lots of upcoming events coming up here. March 4th, we have our next 1 Million Cups, April 1st, April Fools, surprise. We're here, and May 6th. If you are sitting out in the audience today and you're saying, you know what, I would like to get up in front of everybody and talk about my business, it is your opportunity. You have to be in business for less than 5 years. One of the things we do differently at 1 Million Cups is we're going to help you. We have some amazing coaches here in the room. Specifically, Celicia kind of heads that up. Mark, there's Mark in the back. Lewis is here. So one of the things that we do best with 1 Million Cups here in Round Rock is we're going to make sure you're prepped and prepared. We help you get your presentation together. We coach you so that you can be comfortable when you get up here. And it's all about you. It's your show for that day. It's not a sales pitch, but to get feedback from the audience is extremely important. And this is the best crowd in all of 1 Million Cups. So I encourage you, if you have the guts and the fortitude and the grit, get up here with us and tell us about your business as well. You are always invited. Please come back to these events. We love to have you here. The community and everybody about this 1 Million Cups is here to support you. Thank you, and we'll see you here at the next one.